Hi, I'm Jess. I have ADHD and I'm also a recovering fearful avoidant. I just want to pop on today and talk about the biochemistry of an avoidant attachment style. So there's about 20%, if I keep looking here, I've just got some little notes jotted down. ADHD memory is not brilliant, but I'll try and stay focused as much as I can on you guys. So 20-25% of the population now is classed as avoidant. So it is kind of a global epidemic that keeps rising. And ultimately it's because children were never, it was never modelled to them, or these individuals, it's never modelled to them how to have healthy conflict resolution, ultimately. Now, what often has happened in an avoidant's life is either their parents never really, they just pushed everything under the carpet and they didn't fight in front of them and stuff like that, or the people that did express emotions, they didn't do it in a safe way. So therefore, emotions are not safe for an avoidant. If they expressed emotions as a child, they usually got ignored or invalidated or, reprimanded for having these big emotions. So the safest thing was to repress them, because ultimately to feel all of these emotions and this pain and not have anything positive come from that, why would you keep putting yourself through that? It's just, it's redundant to them, so they sack it off, ultimately. So in adult relationships, this can look like really struggling with being vulnerable with the partner. So they don't really like to open up more than surface level, or especially not quickly. It can take an avoidant a lot longer than it can like a secure attached person, and especially a lot longer than an anxious attached person that really wants to just jump straight in. And obviously neither of them is healthy. The balance is somewhere in the middle. But that's just the way that the avoidant is that's just their way and the way that they've grown. Obviously there is things that can be put into place to change the wiring in the brain. Neuroplasticity is amazing because it is fixable. But yeah, I just want to go through the biochemistry and some neurochemicals that affect the avoidant attachment style. So obviously humans are meant to bond with other people. We're a social species, so there is chemicals that are in place in our bodies to help us bond with other individuals. So one that's really commonly spoke about is oxytocin. So that's released when you do bonding activities with a loved one or somebody that you care about. Things like holding hands, cuddling, and being intimate with a person. Oxytocin is released. When oxytocin is released, there's then another chemical that comes as a byproduct of the oxytocin, and that's I'm not even going to, there's 4 compartments to this name, but I'm just going to shorten it down to Gaba. You can go off and research that. I'm just not even going to try and pronounce it because I'll probably just make a show of myself. But Gaba is then released. So when Gaba's released, people with lower Gaba levels tend to have higher cortisol levels, and that's because when there's high Gaba levels in the body, this actually helps the body to process through the cortisol and reduce the levels. Because Gaba is obviously a byproduct of oxytocin, and oxytocin is a product of bonding, avoidants don't tend to have high levels of this, so they tend to have higher stress levels. With higher cortisol levels, you can also get higher rates of autoimmune issues as well. So there is significant evidence to show that people with avoidant attachment styles often have higher rates of autoimmune issues such as IBS, things along that line, rheumatoid arthritis, because that's autoimmune as well. I'm not going to obviously list off all the autoimmune issues, but you get the gist. GABA also helps with the production of melatonin as well. So if you've got an avoidant attachment and you have chronic sleep issues, this is probably what's going on. So you've got probably more than likely lower levels of melatonin because it's not being released in higher amounts. There's also some sort of, I don't exactly know how it works, but magnesium is used in the body easier when there's higher amounts of GABA as well. So with magnesium, low levels of magnesium, you can just burn through it really quickly, or it's not absorbed properly if you've got low levels of GABA. And with magnesium, low levels of magnesium, sorry, you'll find that you've got like really sore muscles, like aching, that kind of thing, and that's usually low levels of magnesium. Next, I want to talk about vasopressin. So vasopressin is a neurochemical that's released when you problem solve with others. So, you know, if you're working on something with someone and you obviously solve the problem together, vasopressin is released. It doesn't just have to be like tasks, it can be games and things like that, but there's not a lot that's built through a computer screen, and there's a lot of avoidance. I tend to see lots of like editors, lots of just computer-based career paths, and that's because obviously they don't want to deal with people, which just totally makes sense. But yeah, you're not getting a lot of vasopressin through even solving problems through a screen. There's a lot better when you're actually, you know, playing football with somebody, or, you know, working manually on a task together, and you do a good job and vasopressin's released. Serotonin, you get high levels of serotonin through social connection, social interaction. There's lots of avoidants that are really, really into the fitness and things like that, and that's because if they don't stay on top of that routine, the serotonin levels are that low, they need the exercise routine, they need some sort of fitness in their life, because they're living in such low levels of serotonin that as soon as they're not getting that, because they're not really getting it through social interaction, like they might socially interact with really, really superficial, like surface level conversations. It's not deep, meaningful conversations. So yeah, they'll have, often low levels of serotonin as well. And the last one I want to talk about, let me just double check I haven't missed anything. No, yeah, I just want to talk about the last one is dopamine. So obviously this is available to avoidance, and they heavily rely on dopamine, so that you'll see a lot of dopamine binges, shopping addictions, porn addictions, lots of sugar and caffeine and things like that, because that's the only one that they're relying on. The issue with this in relationships is it tends to, you meet a new person, you know, you get a high hit of dopamine and you're like, yeah, like this is the one, and then 6 months in, because you haven't got all of the rest of the you know, oxytocin, serotonin, vasopressin, you haven't got them online, the connection, it's no longer new and exciting, so the dopamine drops, and then you're like, well, this feels a little bit shitty, you know, and they tend to then be like, this person's nice, but am I attracted to them anymore? You'll see, especially in women, especially around the 6-7 month mark, that their sex drive just goes, and then, you know, a guy, they like to pursue a woman, so if they're with, there's a lot of avoidant men that will find themselves with anxious women. If when they pull away, the anxious woman is wanting to chase and run after them, the sex, you know, sorry, it cut off. Yeah, you'll just see that their sex drive will then dwindle as well. And that's because you haven't got oxytocin online, you haven't got vasopressin online, you haven't got the other bonding hormones there to keep you connected with that individual. So yeah, I just want to reiterate that living on dopamine is not healthy. It's, you know, it's a survival mechanism that an avoidant has developed in childhood, because cooperation and sharing has not been modelled to them, or at least not in a fair way, so they just don't do it. So you just can't get through life on dopamine and expect to constantly feel good, ultimately. Okay, so you're probably thinking like, right, okay, so what the hell do I do then? The only way an avoidant can biohack the system is you need to work towards secure attachment, and you need to learn to connect with people that have earned your trust, that have been there for you and shown that they are trustworthy people, they're safe people, not going for people just because they're giving you that dopamine high. You know, family members that have shown that they're trustworthy, friends that have shown that they're trustworthy, partners that have shown that they're trustworthy, and really honing on that with them. In childhood, opening up and being vulnerable to somebody, you know, is not something, it wasn't a skill that was learned. So ultimately, learning this skill, opening up to people, that's really going to help with producing the other biochemicals. I really hope you like this video. Follow me for more content.